If you could give one big piece of advice about success, failure, and learning, maybe things that failure has taught you.
Don't think too hard. Don't try to specialize too early. Be your own person. Be prepared to walk through open doors, change ambitions and change plans, and be flexible.
Hello everyone, I'm Alexander, and welcome to a live edition of Trailheads and Titans, coming to you from Resourcing Tomorrow 2025 here in London, UK. Today I'm being joined by Tim Coughlin. Thank you so much for being here and joining us live.
Pleasure's mine, Alexander.
Could you please introduce yourself and share briefly about what you do?
My name's Tim. I'm a vocational explorer, so I'm an exploration geologist. I spent a lot of time at university, too long, 11 years. Don't spend 11 years at university, doing undergraduate and postgraduate degrees, learning about how mountains formed and how copper and gold deposits formed within those mountains.
Where did you go to study in university?
I studied in 3 universities in Australia, but my field work in terms of studying the mountains and copper deposits was in Argentina.
How did you like it over there in Argentina?
Oh, I loved Argentina very much, and I love the Andes, and I've spent most of my life there.
Thank you. So mining isn't usually the first career that comes to mind for young people. So what do you think is the first thing and the thing that they really don't think about and the purpose of the industry?
Well, I think that rather than what they don't think about, I think it's what they think about. They have a certain view of mining, which I think is very outdated. It harks back to probably the 60s and 70s when there wasn't a lot of care, or maybe the 80s as well. There wasn't a lot of care put into mineral extraction and also mineral exploration to an extent. That's all changed. You know, it's a different world now. We're all a lot more advised and informed. You know, it's an exciting industry. I mean, if you like the outdoors, I mean, you know, when I started studying geology and rocks, I didn't imagine I would end up in the mining industry. But I suddenly realized, I eventually realized that if I wanted to get paid for being outside, for climbing mountains and traveling and doing all that sort of exciting stuff, then it was exploration, trying to find the resources that the world needs.
Many young people today are really unsure about what they want to study or how they want to start their career. So looking back, if you could tell your younger self like one big piece of advice about finding purpose and direction, what do you think it would be?
I should have I was a bit lazy, so I took 3 years off before I went to university. I should have focused more on my secondary school sciences. I'm biased, but I would encourage kids nowadays. I mean, you have to have the inclination, but if you're inclined, get into sciences. It's a very fast-moving section of research right now. Try not to be too selective too early on. You know, I see a lot of kids just diving straight into computing or computer science. Just do science. Get into it, build up good relationships with the lecturers that you like, and then let that whole process guide you into what you want to do. In terms of purpose, I think life's a blessing. I think if we're gifted with the ability to do our jobs and contribute, then we should. And I think we all are here to make some sort of a difference.
I was reading and it said that you were born in the UK. Where were you born in?
Oh, I was born up in Yorkshire, so up in the north of England. But when I was about 11 years old, my family moved to Australia, so I grew up mostly in Australia, thankfully.
How is it over there in Australia right now?
Australia's a great place. Well, let's staying with the subject for science, for education in science. The Australian universities have always had a very good grounding in science, and so it's a great place to go and study. It's a great place to grow up, you know, as a kid. That little bit in between, my personal view is that bit in between sort of growing up and being educated and then perhaps retiring. I'm too young for that. Perhaps retiring is a little bit parochial in Australia, so I like a bit more excitement. So I spent most of my career outside of Australia. In fact, I've worked in about 30 different countries because that's what I like to do. I like a bit of excitement. Keeps me living and breathing.
Is there a specific country that you like more than others?
I'm just going to say, so let's forget about working, but just in terms of an exciting place to be, right now, I would have to say that there's lots of countries I've liked. Right now, Saudi Arabia really excites me, which is probably not the answer you were expecting.
Is there a specific reason why?
There is. So Saudi Arabia, I like countries that have a purpose and a direction, and we talked about purpose and direction before, and have an aim. And the Saudis are very focused on transitioning from the past and focused on an exciting new future. And it's a young population. I think it's about, I'm probably get this wrong, about 60% below the age of 45. So they're very young, very energetic and driven. And I like that. I like to see direction in a population.
Going into the more economic side of things, do you personally enjoy or go into investing a lot? Or?
Yeah. Well, in my own company, of course, but also in other companies. I stick to what I know, and it's usually, my investment decisions are not always the wisest, but I invest in people more than anything else. So when I look at, I suppose because I've been in the industry for so long, so when I look at an investment proposition, a company in our sector, I'll look to see who's running it and who's involved in it before I look at their projects and what they're doing.
Going into more gold, I was at the Northern Miner Symposium, and there was, I think, a fireside chat with Rick Rule and also Rob McEwen, and they were talking about gold. So what is your current opinion on how it's going to be affected and how it's going to affect the state of the world?
Okay, we got both of those guys are shareholders in our company, by the way. We got two experts there who know far more about this than I do. We're very much responsive in terms of gold price, and I'm not brave enough to predict what it's going to do. What surprised me recently is, we've been through, speaking economically, we've been through 13 years of tough times. So in our sector, where we haven't been recognized for the work that we've been doing. I can see that changing. I was very surprised that part of that change was the gold price, for the reasons that, geopolitical uncertainty and et cetera, for the old reasons had recovered. So I thought those old reasons were no longer relevant. I didn't really trust, because to me, the last 13 years, we've had a lot of geopolitical uncertainty. But it's mostly central bank buying that's supported the gold price and impacted demand. Some central banks that are probably unfamiliar. I think the Turks bought a lot. I think Azerbaijan, for some reason, their central banks bought a lot. I know that the BRICS countries, have been accumulating gold over the last 5 or 6 years. So I'm encouraged by the fact that the old formulae, which is in times of geopolitical uncertainty, gold increases in value, that old formulae is manifesting itself again, because I'd sort of lost faith in that.
Are there some specific minerals or metals that you like more than others?
Well, I like exploring for copper more than anything else. And that's because of the geology. Copper and gold have always been our focus, and I guess they're the ones we like more than anything else, yeah.
And if you could say if you have been told one leadership lesson and it's something that has stayed with you throughout your career, something that you still rely on today, what would that be?
When you're young, trust your leaders. When you're old, trust your gut.
And leadership today requires a lot of resilience and grit, right? So if there are some habits or mindsets that help you stay grounded, or when facing pressure, complexity, or major decisions, what would those be?
Staying healthy. So having something other than your career. I ski a lot. This is my time of the year, so I'm looking forward to week after next. I'll be in the snow. I pretend that I'm an old guy, but I pretend that I'm training for that for like 2 months before I go. It's a bit pathetic, to be honest. But staying fit, healthy, maintaining a calm mind. That's all part of staying healthy. Good diet, looking after yourself. You know, like I said, if you're blessed with the ability to make something of your life and contribute, then it's your responsibility, in my view, to do as much as you possibly can. And that means being healthy.
Are there some specific sports that you like to watch?
I like watching skiing. So, although it's just one season only. And I like watching rugby.
Are there some specific teams that you like more in rugby than others?
No, because I travel a lot, I just focus on the international competitions. And even though I grew up in Australia, I'm an England supporter.
Can you go a bit more into depth about what you do as your job, or what you did?
Yeah. So I have this strange balance of doing basic exploration geology, okay, and so in the field with the guys in camps, you know, in Saudi Arabia, we do our exploration with 2 Toyota reconnaissance support vehicles with tents on the top, and a Mercedes Vario with an accommodation module on the back with our own drone. It's really cool stuff, right? With our own drone. In fact, I really enjoy that more than anything else. So a mix of doing that, similar type things in Colombia where we work, and also Morocco, and then doing this. So attending conferences, engaging with investors, engaging with shareholders. We don't engage with too many young entrepreneurs like yourself, but it's my pleasure. And so it's an interesting combination, I think, that a lot of I'm sort of in a rhythm where I need both. So if that makes any sense. If I'm in the field for a long time, I'm sort of thinking, well, maybe it's time for me to get back to the office, engage with people who own the company. And if I'm doing that, I'm kind of desperate to get back into the field again. So it's a great job. I love it.
You're mentioning exploration geology. So can you go a bit more into depth? So do you go around and try to find where mineral and metal deposits are?
Yeah. So we use various things. So if in its purest form, which is the sort of stuff that we do in Saudi Arabia, what we would start with, for example, you know, as a process is we start by reading a lot. Reading a lot, if you're just consuming that sort of information yourself, isn't of much use. You have to be able to communicate what you're learning. So what we have in-house is a structure where we build what's called a time-space graph. And it's actually more like a cartoon that we sit up on the wall, and all of us contribute to it, and it shows what we understand about the time-space evolution of a part of the Earth's crust. Okay, so it's a very basic sort of scientific process, and also the time-space evolution of mineral deposits within that framework. Okay, so that's sort of where we start. And then at the same time, we will use remote information. So that would be satellite sourced information, airborne information like airborne geophysics, published geological maps that have been made over decades by various different groups. We make sure all that's digital and we integrate it. We add our own value to that in terms of things that we've seen in the field. That then identifies initially rock packages and regions. Okay, so if you think of in Saudi Arabia, the area we're exploring is the size of Portugal and Spain put together. So we have to focus ourselves as quickly as possible. The idea is to find something as quickly as possible. Okay, so we identify rock packages that we're interested in. We identify then specific locations within those rock packages that we're interested in. And then we go out in the field and we review them. If we find something interesting, normally what would happen is you would then submit an application to a ministry for a license to explore that area. In almost all countries, some of them are different, but the minerals belong to the state. So even if you're a property owner, a farmer, for argument's sake, you own the surface of the land, but everything underneath your land, it used to be a plow depth, so the depth of a plow wheel. Everything underneath your land belongs to the people, to the people you share the country with. And so companies like us, we're granted a license to explore, so we invest the money and take the risk to identify what's below the surface there. If we find something, then we get a share of the profits, but then most of it, through taxes and royalties, obviously goes to the country and the people who live there.
Usually, how long does it take for the application?
There's nothing usual about it. Oh, for applications, or do you mean to find an ore deposit?
For people to, like, when you said that you submit the application and then they have to, like, confirm it. So how long does that take?
Oh, that varies. It varies in the countries that you're in. It varies a lot. It can be anything from, in automated systems, almost immediate, to years.
Just before we wrap up, if you could give one big piece of advice to a 14-year-old, someone like me, or like those listening about success, failure, and learning, and maybe things that failure has taught you that success never could, what do you think that piece of advice would be?
Don't think too hard, okay? Don't try to specialize too early. Walk through open doors. Don't close them behind you. You can always walk back out again. Be your own person. Experience as much as you can, learn as much as you can. Don't waste time on social media. I waste a lot of time on social media. Don't waste time on social media. Learn. You've got an amazing, on your telephone there, on your phone there, you've got access to a wealth of amazing information that when I was 14, I didn't have. Digest it, but don't feel compelled to do something at the age of 14. Have your ambitions, have your plans, but be prepared to walk through open doors, change ambitions and change plans, and be flexible. There's a time to be focused, and there's a time just to absorb everything that life's offering you. And when you're 14, suck it all up.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tim Coughlin, for joining us live at Resourcing Tomorrow 2025, and for sharing your insights with Trailheads and Titans. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow Trailheads and Titans for more conversations with global leaders who are blazing new trails. Until next time.